So yesterday we learned how to add integers. Today we are going to learn how to subtract integers. So again, same rules when you're using a number line. You start at 0. Positive numbers go right, negative numbers go left. Okay, so we have 4 minus 1. So that's a pretty easy one because that's just like normal math you learned in kindergarten. You start at 0, you go right 4 places because it's positive, and then left 1 place because it's negative, and you end up at 3. So we moved right 4 units, and to subtract 1 we moved left 1 unit. So we had 4 minus 1 equals 3. B, we have negative 3 minus 1. So we start at 0, and we go to the left 3 spots because it's negative. And then we have another negative, so we go to the left 1 spot and get negative 4. So remember, we always start at 0. We move 3 units left to subtract the 3, and then to subtract the 1, we move to the left again. And we said we ended at negative 4, which is correct. Okay. Next, we are going to look at example 2. Example 2 gets a little bit more difficult on A because you have to remember a rule. When you have 2 negatives right in a row, I would like you to circle them, and then I would like you to switch each negative to a positive because we are going to be adding the opposite of negative 2, and the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. Okay? Because what this is saying is a negative times a negative, and when we multiply a negative times a negative, which we'll talk about tomorrow, we get a positive. So I just want you to circle the 2 negatives that are right next to each other, change them to plus signs, and then that changes our question to 5 plus 2, which is 7. Negative 3 minus 7. What we're going to do is we're going to add the opposite of 7. So we're going to change this problem, and it's going to be negative 3 plus a negative 7. So we're going to keep, switch to a positive, and keep. Okay? So keep your negative 3, switch the negative to a positive 7, and then the opposite of 7 is negative 7. Then, if they're the same side, you add and keep sign. So, 3 plus 7 is 10, and because they're both negative, you put a negative there. Okay. Evaluate x minus y for each set of values. So the first value is negative 3 and positive 2. Okay, so we're going to keep our first value, put a positive, and then do the opposite of positive 2, which is negative 2. So we are going to substitute. That's a substitute, by the way, for x and y. Now, we're going to add the opposite of 2, which we already did, right there. And then because they're the same sign, we add 3 and 2, and we keep the sign. On B, it says to evaluate x minus y for x equals 4 and y equals negative 6. So x equals 4, which they put down here, minus a negative 6, because the negatives are right in a row. We're going to circle them, and we're going to change them to a plus sign. So we're going to substitute x and y, and then we're going to add the opposite of negative 6. So we have 4 plus 6, and we get 10. So really the thing to know is on these ones, where it's a negative number and a negative number, you're going to end up with a negative answer. When you have the 2 negatives right in a row like this, because these two negatives are not in a row, there's a number between them. You're going to change it to a positive sign. Find the difference between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So the difference means subtract. So we're going to be subtracting those two numbers. So we're going to have 32, because the bigger number goes first, minus a negative 10. Because we're finding the difference, so we have to keep both the negative on the negative 10 still. Because if we don't, it's just 32 minus 10. Now remember, those two negatives are right in a row, so you circle and change them to a positive. So we're going to put a positive sign here, and 32 plus 10 is 42, because we added the opposite of negative 10. So the difference is 42 degrees. And you might be thinking that's weird because you got a bigger answer than 32, but if you look at a number, or a thermometer, we're going to say this is 0 degrees, this is negative 10, and this is 32. Well, from here to here, we have 10 degrees, and from here to here, we have 32 degrees, and we have to add 32 plus 10 to see how far apart they are, because we need to see how far negative 10 is away from 0 and how far 32 is away from 0, or find the absolute value, and then add those together. Okay, do your check it out problems. See if you can follow the rules right for subtracting integers. It's a little bit more confusing than adding integers. So see what you can do, and then come get them checked.